Alright guys, let's take a look at getting around at the command line. This is assignment 5 for Windows, what we would have been talking about as soon as we got back. So to get to the command line, you can either type command, and you can see an app comes up that's called command prompt, or shorter is CMD, and that's the actual name of this program. So it's CMD. Or there's plenty of ways to do it. You can right click here and you can go to Windows PowerShell as an admin. That's a more advanced version of the command line. We won't be using any of its special stuff. So I just usually type CMD. Now you can edit this. You can change how this looks. So we're going to go to properties real quick. And I'm going to make this bigger so that you'll be able to see it. And also make it green so that you'll be able to take a look at it. 28, maybe 24. Let's try 28. We'll go over to colors, and it always starts you on screen background, which is never what I want to change. I want to change the screen text, and I'll go ahead and select green for that and OK it. As soon as you OK it, it's going to make it huge, and look at that, it did make it huge. So let me go back in. I don't want 28, that's a little too large, and it didn't seem to actually grab my green, so let's see how I mess that up. Alright, so we want 24. That'll probably be a lot better, and here it's showing it in green, so I'm not sure what the issue is there. Screen background is black, right? Screen text says it's supposed to be that, so let's switch it to teal. The other ones are actually if it was to pop up, and you can actually be really cool, right? You can set this so I can see through it. That's like the hacker view right there. So maybe we'll set it to 92. That should have went green. There it goes. So let's clear the screen. There we are at the prompt. Let's take a look at how you format. Again, this is going to lead into the Linux thing that you have to do in about 5 weeks. That's towards the end of the course, and then you'll have a few weeks to study for the test, or a week to study for the test. Okay, so it drops you in your home folder. dir is how you list what's in there. dir, directory. If you want to copy things, it's copy. And if you ever want to find out how to use something, you put a / on it with a question mark, and it pulls up all the formatting. So this shows you copy, and here's all the switches that you can put in, and then the source, and then the destination. So it expects to see copy this file to this file. That's what it expects to see. So dir, again, that's directory. Copy, to copy a file. There's actually another one, and I have these listed, xcopy, and it's more advanced, so you can do lots of things like get rid of the entire directory structure or create a directory structure. There's tons of things you can use to make this assignment easier, but I don't get into that. You got to poke around and see what you got. There's also a move. Oh, never mind, they got rid of move. Move is not there anymore. That's okay. Let's take a look at how we change directories. So I am currently here in my home folder. I can do a directory and view it as wide. That's nice, retro recipes. And everything that's in brackets then is directory, and that's what we call them when we're at the command line. We don't call them folders, but they're the same thing, so you can call them folders or directory. And again, in Windows, it doesn't need the caps. So if I wanted to go to documents, I can type cd documents, and it goes there. On Linux, it does. If something's capped, then you gotta type the cap, otherwise it won't find it. It's case sensitive, in other words. So in any case, here I am in the documents folder, and I can list that out, and there's some more directories, and there's some files that are actually in there. And so it lists the date and the time, if whether or not it's a directory or not, and then finally it lists out the name here. So these are all names. So again, the most important thing that I'll mention over and over again is understanding the fact that when I issued this dir command right here, that was a relative reference. In other words, it was relative to where I am. I'm in the documents folder, and when I typed dir, the computer said, I guess you mean the folder you're in, and that's the directory it gave me. So I could instead say, you know what, I actually want a directory of something else, so please give me the directory of users. And so it says, okay, here's the directory of users. Now this is an absolute reference. So I type dir, and then this is exactly the directory I wanted it to list. So that's a real simple example of and usage of a relative reference right here. dir, I forget that it erases my mouse when we're watching this, so there's a relative reference. And then this is a use of an absolute reference. And so you really have to kind of virtually picture yourself standing in this directory structure. You have to think about where you are, like as if you were physically in the documents folder. And every time that you decide to change directories, for instance, cd period is shorthand for move up the structure. So I went out of documents and now I'm in James. So now I can type cd downloads, which should be there, right? And I'm in the downloads folder. And that's what's there. There's a bunch of stuff I've got in here, which is good because I'm going to do some copying out of that folder. I'm not going to go through all the single commands that there are. Really what I'm trying to teach you is that you can look up, for instance, I don't know how to use this command. Okay, there it is. And this looks like gibberish, right? It's just like, what does it mean? Well, when you type dir, then you have to put in, if you need to, the drive and the path, and even the file name if you're looking for that. And then you can actually, really do a dir based on what kind of format it is, right? And normally we don't do that with dir. We just say, I am where I want to be. Please show me the directory. And I did a W, which said push that wide instead of listing it down. As a matter of fact, there we go. So there's my directory. There's using that command. If you're like, well, how do you use copy? Well, you can look that up and you can say, okay, well, I've got to put in copy and then here's a bunch of switches, right? And it's not saying use all these switches. It's saying, hey, this is where you would put this stuff. And then you would put the source, and then if you have switches for that, you would put the switches there. So it's basically telling me I could put the switches before, or I could put them after the source, or I could put them after the destination. And so it's showing you where you can put those things. That's why this just looks crazy. So if I wanted to use Z, then I would probably say copy /Z space, what is my source, space, what is my destination. Spaces are important. It can't understand something like this. Whoops. That is actually a command, but it doesn't understand what copy C:\\\\, is in one fell swoop. If I put my spaces in, just like we have to do for speaking to each other, then it'll actually work. I don't want to copy everything from the root directory, so I won't do that. So spaces are really important, and then again, you have to think about where you are. So for instance, I'm sitting here in downloads. There is a bunch of stuff. So I think I want to grab something that's small. So here's a couple of PDFs. Oh, and there's a JPEG. There's a JPG. So I think I'm going to grab all the JPGs out of this folder and I'm going to put them in the Documents folder. So there's two ways to do this. I can either move to the Documents folder and pull the files over to me, or I can be where the files are and push them there. So you have to think about what you're doing. For instance, let's look at it this way. I can say, you know what, I need to copy asterisk as a wildcard, meaning I need to copy anything that ends with JPG. Now if I type that, what's going to happen is it'll say you can't copy a file onto itself. I mean, why would you do that? Now the reason it's saying that is I didn't add where I wanted it to go. And so its assumption is, I guess you want to take all the JPGs from here and copy them to here? That doesn't make any sense. So I have to tell it, I need you to go to the Documents folder. However, a lot of people will just do this. Okay, the computer is not that smart. The computer doesn't go through the system, find every Documents folder that exists, and then ask you, which one of these did you mean? Right now, it doesn't know. It's like Documents. Is there only one Documents folder on this computer? You may not know it, but there isn't only one. For every single user, the Documents folder is created. And so those are all separate locations. Where do you want me to put it? Let's see what happens when we hit enter on this. Interesting. One file's copied. So this could mislead people. I've seen students have this problem. They're like, oh right, yeah, that worked. Not really. Let's go ahead and take a directory again here, and then we'll notice as we scroll up, Documents. That file wasn't there before. If you don't believe me, let's go up and take a look at what it was before. There's ABC. Nope. It's not there. Yeah, what we just did was we just created a file that anything that has .jpg on the end of it, stick it all on one file called Documents. That's what we just told it. That's really not what we want. So, sorry, my scroll there is a little messed up. So what we have to do is say, well, where is this? Well, we need to tell it exactly where it is. So this directory is off of users. Whoops. Documents. So now I'm telling it, copy any JPG file, and because I'm not telling it where, it's going to assume the downloads folder. So copy any JPG you find here, where I am, and put it over here. So copy it to this place. So it's going to look and it's going to go, okay, C:\users /James hey, that exists, and then it'll actually put the file there. If I want to check that, up arrow, this works in Linux too, so up arrow will actually show you what you just typed. And so that it saves on having to type things over and over again. So I'm going to actually just replace what I typed before and say, give me the directory. And so we should see that JPG. There it is right here. That's what we copied. Right, that wasn't there before. That was not in existence in that particular directory. And it does have a strange name. There it is, right here. So let's do the PDFs. There's a couple of PDFs in there so you can see what we're doing. If I was to type it all out with absolute directories, that would be very long. I'd say copy C:\users /James /downloads. Whew, I just don't like doing that. PDF. So give me all the PDFs. And where am I going to put them? C:\users /James /documents. Whew. This is using two absolutes. I'm telling it absolutely this is where it's located. And I want you to copy it to this one, absolutely to this one. I don't need the first part, right, because I'm in downloads. So let me show you the difference. Let me actually change directories, and I can either back up to James by using cd period period, or I could type in an absolute reference, right? I could say cd :/users /James /documents. So I can do either. That's why I usually, that's a lot to type, so I just usually back up cd period period. There's actually another way to do it, but I'm not going to show you that. If you find it, that's great, you can use it. But so I usually go cd, I back up, and then I go cd. So that's two different commands, but I can type it quicker. Alright, so I know that I want some PDFs out of the downloads folder, so I'm going to say let's copy these PDFs. Now I have to reverse things, right? So I'm going to take out, see, I used to have * period PDF here. That's what I had. And then I had where I was going to put it, right? C://. As a matter of fact, let's just, we've done a lot. But that's the way I had it, because I was sitting in the place where the JPGs were. Well, now I'm sitting in where I want things to be. So instead I have to say, well, I need you to copy, but where are these files? C:// users /James /downloads / and then usually you can just * period right after that. PDF, but it's more proper to do that. And so basically I'm telling it, I need to use the copy command, and I want you to go look in downloads for any of these PDFs. Now I've left out where I want to put it, right? And the reason I left out where I want to put it is that this command should assume that I'm where I want to be. And actually it's grabbing some IMG files right here that I didn't want. But it is copying it. Let's Control X, Control C out of this. Sorry. Control C will always end it. So let me see if I can fix this. There we go. So I'll put in my /. I should have had my / and then a space. Alright, so two files copied. So if I do a dir now, there's my two PDFs that I just grabbed. So that's how you use your relative references and your absolute references. You have to think about you standing in this virtual structure and then giving it the appropriate information it needs to actually find the file. So you have to understand that the computer doesn't really know where these files are unless you're where the file is. If you're where the file is, then you can change some of that. And see, that's what I reversed it and said, okay, well, I'm in documents, so I've got to tell it, go all the way over to downloads and grab this stuff. And then because I didn't tell it where I wanted to put it, it says, oh, I guess you want it here. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, please get a hold of me. I've given you other references out there. So many of you have not done this assignment yet. It's an important assignment because you will be doing this in Linux, and they have different commands that they use, but it's still, you have to know this absolute and relative and where you are in order to use the command. We could spend, as I say in the other videos, we could spend a whole semester just doing stuff like this. But we really don't need to. You need to know how to format a command. You need to know how to read the help file to get what you want from it. And if you can do that, then you can pull up any command that there is that exists, and you can say, well, I'm trying to do this thing in Linux or this thing at the command line. how do I do it? And you can look it up and go, oh, this is how I format it. If you don't understand, I need to really have an idea where I am on the computer and where the files are, or where the command is, or where I want to send this output to. Then you're just lost. You'll never be able to format stuff correctly to get what you want, because fundamentally you have to understand those components. So we will run through this again in Linux. And again, I didn't want to show you how to do everything. I should show you, let me just show you right now, how to make a directory. So we're in Documents, Relative Reference. All I got to do to make a directory is put in James, and I'll put in James so we can see it. No error, which means it did it. If I do a dir, then I see James right here on my list. I could also do a dir and specify. Can you show me if James is here? Right, and then it'll look for the file, and there's my directory of James that I just created. Isn't that kind of cool? And so let me go ahead and remove it, but let me get out of where I am so I can use an absolute reference. So let's say I want to remove the directory. There's other ways to do this. So if you look up the help files on these commands, you'll find really quick ways to do this stuff. And I want to remove James. So I have to tell it, I need you to go and remove C:\\, whoops, users, \James, \documents. Man, it takes forever to type this stuff. Whoops. Well, it doesn't matter, right? In Windows, I don't need to worry about the caps. No error. So let's actually take a look. Let's move up into Documents. I could just get a directory right there, but I won't. Let's do a dir, and it's gone. There's no James in here. I removed it. So that's how you can apply the principles of, does this need to be absolute, does this need to be relative, to commands that may be new to you. As long as you know how to put those in there, it's going to work for you. So again, take a look at the references I have given you, and if you have any questions and need some help, we can Zoom or whatever and get things done.